Hi, I'm Ann Weiser-Cornell. This is an open house to introduce or explain or describe, elaborate the Focusing Resources Certification Program to become a focusing professional, an inner relationship focusing professional. 2-year program. We are teachers and co-mentors in that program. We're here to introduce ourselves, describe the program, and answer questions. We also today are going to hear from some recent graduates of the program, what has been their experience taking it. So that is something I think is pretty cool. So we're going to start by just introducing ourselves. The panelists that are here today will introduce themselves. We're going to then talk about the curriculum and the components of the program. And those, in the case where some of the teachers of the program are here, we will be talking about our role as teachers. Then we're going to talk about co-mentorship, which is one of the lovely features of the program. And people who are here who are co-mentors will also talk about their philosophy of co-mentorship. We're going to hear from the recent graduates, what their experience has been in the program. And we are so interested in interacting with the participants who are here to hear your questions and anything you want to ask us about it. And just to say again, this is a webinar, not a meeting. That's why you can only see the panelists. You yourself, if you're one of the 7 attendees who are here right now, we can't see you, we just see your names. But later when you ask questions, we'll be able to give you a voice and you can actually speak. So that's how that works. It's an hour and a half. And that's how we go. So we'll just introduce ourselves now. I'm Ann Weiser-Cornell. I'm one of the originators of inner relationship focusing. I learned focusing 51 years ago when I was 22 years old from Gene Gendlin, the father of focusing, an amazing person, a gift to the world. My favorite recently, my new favorite quote by him is, "Nothing that feels bad is ever the last step." So focusing has been something I've dedicated my life to with great pleasure, and it's always evolving. That's me. Emily, will you go next?
Certainly. I tried to teach myself focusing about 35 years ago out of Dr. Gendlin's little book with the stones on the front. And I didn't do too well. So when I discovered this inner relationship focusing in 2010, I felt like I had died and gone to heaven. It's just been my main modality ever since for inner work and for my work with clients. I'm speaking to you all from Rochester, New York, where it's a very beautiful day today. And I mostly do one-on-one work with clients now in bigger, longer programs through my business, which is called Sustainably Sensitive. I can put it in the chat in case I have quite a lot of material on there. I write. And so there's a lot of blog posts and stuff.
Very informative site and a wonderful approach.
Yeah. But that's me. And I teach in the program too. I was certified, I went through the program you all are contemplating, finished in 2013 and have been teaching with Ann ever since. So it's a lot of ongoing learning, and we'll talk more about that later.
Thanks, Emily. And I'll just add that I'm in Berkeley, California. Pat, will you go next?
Sure. Yeah, I'm Pat O'Median. I started learning focusing in working with Afghan refugees in either 1999 or 2000 with Nina Joy Lawrence. who Anne gave her blessing to us and ours as we learned focusing, to teach focusing.
Pass it
So
on.
pass it on, and pass it on quickly, because it's a process you can trust. And interrelationship focusing is, for me, such a logical process, and a welcome one, and it fits so lovely cross-culturally. So thank you, Anne and Barbara.
Yay.
Oh, I'm in Oregon.
There's an Oregon at the moment. Ginevra, will you be next?
Hello, I'm Ginevra. I learned about interrelationship focusing in my integral coaching training, and originally started taking classes motivated by wanting to help my clients with focusing, and ended up helping myself a lot with focusing, and then helping a lot of my clients. And now I'm teaching. I went through this certification program a few years ago and was invited to join the teaching staff. It's such a deep honor. I'm so grateful to be a part of this and be a part of this secret mission to save the world with interrelationship focusing. And I love to spread it and encourage others to take it on. So glad to be here.
Hey, thank you so much.
I'm
Carol,
based in New Mexico.
you're in New Mexico, aren't you? Yes. Carol, looks like you're ready to go.
Sure. I'm Carol, and I stumbled on focusing in 2005 when I was looking for continuing ed credits. And Anne was teaching a course through the Psychotherapy Networker. And I was about 20 minutes into that class, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the answer. So I'd been in private practice as a psychotherapist for many years and learned lots of really cool stuff like EMDR and attachment therapies, and a little dabbled in IFS, and yeah, so this was it for me. So I was a student for a long time, and then became a teacher with focusing resources, and focusing enabled me to parent my kids in a much better way than I might have without it. Enabled me to maintain a really strong and fun practice, working with people that I wanted to work with. And I became a much calmer and much more confident therapist, because I knew I could just be me, and I also wasn't as tired at the end of the day, and that continues to be the case, and I'm grateful for that. So I'm just really happy to be here with all of you and answer any questions I can answer.
Thank you,
That's
Carol.
about it. Yeah.
Did you say where you are?
Oh, I'm in Massachusetts, Cape Cod, Massachusetts.
And Paula.
Hey, everyone. I'm just north of Pat. I'm in Washington State, Southwest Washington State. And I stumbled into focusing, actually, I like to say, through a story of St. Francis of Assisi. And I heard the story of St. Francis of Assisi hugging a leper. And he said at the end of his life, he was truly converted because what was bitter in him became sweet. And I remember going, oh my gosh, I have so many bitter parts in me that need a hug. So I started a practice called Hugging the Leper. And I started integrated. I'm a spiritual director, and I also lead pilgrimages to Assisi. And I started integrating this into spiritual direction practice, this hugging a leper thing. And after inviting a client to pause to be with something that was present in him, he said at the end, I didn't know you knew focusing. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you just did focusing with me. I go, what are you talking about? And then he held up Anne's little power focusing purple book and said, you just did this with me. And off I went. 10 minutes after that, I was on Amazon, ordered 5 or 6 books. I found out Pat and Nina Joy lived within a couple hours of me. I did a training with them. I grabbed 3 friends and took them to do a training with them. And I just have never looked back. It really has helped me come home to myself. And it really is a beautiful way to invite others to find sort of their come home to their own self, their own God-given self, their own true self, whatever you want to call it. It's really been empowering for me personally, but also in now I'm teaching it in a courses called Doorways to the Soul, and just enjoying every bit. Can't even believe I get to do this work. It's so fulfilling to me.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everyone. Hearing from all of you and these meeting stories of how we met focusing, I have a feeling that all our guests who are here probably have similar stories. The focusing is often something that we recognize from inside when we meet it. Those who are, especially those of us who are going to have a passion for not only doing it, but also helping others as well. So that's probably what brings us all together here in this room. And the purpose of the certification program is to be enormously supportive for people who have a passion to spread focusing and who want to be part of helping others be able to accept themselves, spend time with themselves, hug their lepers, be present with what seem to be the worst places inside us, and yet have the treasure somehow. So here we are. Now that we've created this 2-year program, especially created by myself and Barbara McGavin. We will hear from Barbara McGavin. She's unable to join us live because of time zone stuff, but she sent a video, so we'll watch that later. It's a message for all of you. And I just want to go over the essence of the 2-year program, what's involved, and we'll hear from the teachers who are here and get an overview. So it's 2 years, and each year has 33 classroom meetings. So there are 33 times when you need to show up and be in a Zoom room with the other people in the group. And this is the time. In other words, the course that starts this fall, the time that it meets every week is 4 to 6 Pacific time, and that's just about the same time as this webinar. So if you could be here, you can be there. And in those classrooms, we begin with the broad fundamentals of bringing interrelationship focusing to others. Everyone accepted in the program already knows interrelationship focusing, already knows focusing partnership, and has already lived with focusing, bringing it into your life. So we don't teach how to do focusing. Start with the assumption. We share knowing what focusing is and how to do it. And now we're going to learn what are the principles of bringing it to other people? Principles like empathic attunement, the importance of being a person with another person, as Jean Gendlin put it, and of getting how it is for them, and tuning into the place in people where there is something emerging, the unclear edge, it's sometimes called, and being with them, being with another person in a flexible and facilitative way so that they stay present to that unclear edge. That is how we begin. Self in presence, the ability to be able to turn toward whatever is inside you without reacting to it. The radical acceptance of everything, you could say. How do you do that when you're with another person? And how do you help another person be self in presence as well? So the first year emphasizes working one-to-one. In the first 13 or 14 weeks, in addition to the classroom meetings, participants pair up with each other. Let's say there's 12 people in the program. Well, you'll have 11 sessions, 11 weekly sessions, each one with some other person in the program, practicing the skills that we're teaching each week. By the end of those 11 weeks, you've met everybody, you've connected with everybody. And we're now getting into January or February of our first year. At that point, we form you into triads, groups of 3, consultative triads. So this is now one of your subgroup, your smaller learning community that's a sub part of the larger learning community. From that point on, the classroom meets as a whole every other week, and the triad meets in the week in between. So your triad is a place where you practice the skills, focuser, companion, observer, and then focuser, companion, observer until there's been 3 sessions. Very rich and supportive learning environment. Right around that same time that we form triads, we also help you start working with practice clients. Now, I'm going to invite Emily to come in here because one of Emily's teaching roles is to help people get ready to work with practice clients.
Yes, the first class that we'll do in the new year in 2024 is boundaries class, which is the nuts and bolts of when you're meeting a client, how do you set things up, and also how do you let them know like what to expect and set boundaries like about missing sessions. So it's a very rich. And do you want me to say anything about the new people courses or hold off on that?
Yeah, go on. I mean, the next thing that happens after that, well, I'll just say this. When you start working with practice clients, these are people you found or that we found for you. And practice clients means you're not going to charge money. The exchange is you work with them. You're going to do a focusing session, a professional focusing session, not a partnership exchange. So by that time, we've learned what is the difference between focusing partnership and taking people through a professional partnership exchange. And you do up to 6 free sessions, and that's it, with each individual that you start working with. At first, we ask you to work with people who know focusing already, so that teaching them to do focusing is not at all part of the picture, or introducing them to their first focusing experience. These might be people you've met by assisting us with our classes. Or we have a list of people who know focusing already who are interested in working with advanced trainees. But at that point, in the classrooms, we're starting to teach you how to do a first session with someone, how to work with someone who's never focused before. Okay, Emily, go ahead.
Yeah, between us, Ann and I teach 4 new people courses. I do the first and the last, and Ann does the second and the third. And we'll take you right from the beginning. The client walks into the room or gets on Zoom, how you talk them through an initial conversation and figure out what they might want to focus on, give them a sense of what's happening, what's going to happen. It's a wonderfully detailed and specific, yet free way of bringing a client in. And I know for me, it helped me really have a lot of confidence around going into, even if you've worked with clients a lot before, this is its own whole special thing. Yeah.
So by the time you work with new people who also you can find yourself, or we can find for you, you'll have a lot of solidity and confidence. And you will have practiced in your triad by pretending you're a new person. So role playing a new person for the other people in the triad. And that's a great way to practice also, is to pretend I'm a new person. And what does that feel like to be taken through focusing that way? So there are some other kinds of classes in the first year, but most of them center on working one-to-one. People usually start assisting us with classes also in the first year. So that's assisting us with our Path to Lasting Change class, our fundamental focusing course. Some of you've taken that. Assisting us with classes also involves a lot of one-to-one work, because part of the role of an assistant, really the main role of an assistant, is to exchange sessions with students in the classes and give them some help if they need it. So those are the main things that happen in the first year. Second year is centered on teaching, working with groups, and also on being able to speak about focusing to prospective clients, to organizations, to communities, places you might want to bring focusing, whoever you want to tell about focusing, so that their eyes light up, so that they say, oh boy, I want that too. We're really going to give you some help with that. So the courses on how to teach start with, well, what are your values? What would you want for people to be able to do once they complete a course in focusing? We don't have a class format that you have to follow. We have a class format you could follow if you want to, but we believe in you. We believe that teaching comes out of people's own bodies, what matters to them, what they love. And so part of the program is to support each person who is in the program to flourish as your own creator of the teaching that you want to do. Paula was mentioning that she teaches focusing under the name Doorways to the Soul. Did I get that right? I was
Got
just
it
about to
right.
not remember it. and it is our focusing course, and yet it's designed, it's got Paula's unique stamp, her quotes, her spiritual perspective, and that's what we're hoping people will have. We also, because often as a focusing professional, you're going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to create your own place in the world. It's unlikely, well, it's not impossible, but not as likely that someone is looking to employ as a salaried position someone who teaches focusing. So that's why we think it's really important to show you some of the ways you can communicate clearly, to reach out to people, to write a good, effective and touching website, to do that authentically. We'll let Emily say a little more about some of those courses that she teaches.
Yeah, those two take place in October of next year and then March the following year. And the first one's called Finding Your People. And it's around identifying who would your ideal client be if you knew, and defining that and articulating it. And then the second one is called Spreading the Word. And that's around actually the marketing process, like how you let people know what you're up to. And I just want to say that, we've worked hard, Anne has, and I have to come up with a way to offer ways that you can get the word out that feel full of integrity, that will really resonate with your soul and your spirit, that aren't pushy or sleazy in any way. It's really just what one, actually a former mentee of mine who's now got a very successful practice said, it's like, people are thirsty, you have water, let them know that that you have water. That's
Right.
what it is. It's a little bit of a dive into that. get you started?
Empathy-based marketing, I like to call it. Now, not everyone who takes our course wants to be a paid focusing professional. Not everyone follows a traditional format of teaching courses in order to bring focusing to the world. There are community-based ways of bringing focusing into the world as well. That's where Pat Omidian comes in. Pat, why don't you tell us something about the program you teach as part of our course?
Thank you. Yeah. Gosh, where to start? I have to pause. I learned the hard way, or the easy way, that focusing is something that is eminently shareable. And I come from a public health perspective of community-based work. And how do we make things fit locally? And it's by looking at where we find focusing already. And when Paula said, oh, you must be a focuser, I'm always looking for who's already focusing without knowing that. And yeah, so community-based focusing, we use what we call guest house focusing. So that instead of calling them parts, because it doesn't always translate well into other languages, we found that the Rumi poem called The Guest House, as translated by Coleman Barks, was a perfect example. And our Afghan friends, for whom they could read that in the original language, thought that Coleman Barks had the best interpretation they'd ever found. Yeah, so our parts are our guests, and to whether I'm talking with somebody in Uganda who will see their guest as sitting under a tree as they talk to them, or people who might have a guest room or a parlor in the house, or whatever, that same respect for the inner work is easy to share. And because of this, we've got focusing initiatives, my organization, and the work we do. We've got WHO who reaches out. We've got UNHCR reaching out. And so, yeah, we've gotten thousands and thousands of teachers in Afghanistan who know the basics.
As soon as you started teaching focusing, you sent people in your very first class home to teach somebody else what they'd learned that day. Is that right?
Whatever they learn, they take it home immediately and share it, practice it.
And it's because of that that I created Get Bigger Than What's Bugging You, because I said, what part of focusing is easy to tell someone else about immediately?
Yeah.
And I found 5 things, and they became this free e-course that has introduced thousands of people to this work. So I'm so inspired by you, Pat, and so proud that you're part of this
Thank you.
program. Yeah. Well, another person that's a part of our program is Barbara McGavin, and Barbara sent a video, a 2-minute video. I'm going to play it right now. I'm not going to wait. That's not going to work until I actually open the video. It's a message that Barbara created for all of you. Okay, so let's bring her in right now. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Barbara McGavin, and I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, as where I am, it's after midnight. So I want to say a couple of things about what I care about this particular program. It's, for me, as much as anything, it's a way of supporting people in going deep into themselves to find what really matters to them about focusing and living with focusing and sharing focusing. So it's supremely important to me that each person that is in this program comes into it wanting to find their own unique way of being able to bring focusing into the world. So I don't have any particular outcome that I'm looking for except to support people in their own individual journey. Having said that, I think this particular program is amazing. It's had so much thought put into it, and Anne is an amazing linchpin. She holds the center of it, and the rest of us support each person individually. So I wish I could be there. I wish I could have a sense of who's interested and who might be joining us. But I will leave you in the capable hands of Anne and whoever else has been able to join today. So thank you for listening, and I'll look forward to seeing some of you anyway soon. Bye.
Thank you, Barbara. So I notice a few more people have arrived. Welcome. Just to say, this is a webinar, not a Zoom meeting. And so you see the panelists, but you yourself will not be seen. And yet we will soon we'll take questions, and your voice can be heard at that time, or you can ask your question in the chat. But I'd like to move on to a very important component of the program that we haven't mentioned yet. I think really the key component of this program, and that is the component of co-mentorship. It's a small group, really, that we'll take. We've never had more than 17. And so it becomes a cohort where you really get to know each other. People get very close by the end of the 2 years. And each of those people has 2 mentors who are closely attending, being present for, supporting your whole growth for the 2 years. I think that's an amazing aspect of this program. In the case of one of the mentors, you have no choice. It's me. You have to take me as one of your mentors. You get to choose your second mentor. And thank you to the person who sent the heart. You get to choose your second mentor, and everyone who's here is a potential co-mentor. So we're gonna have each of the people who are here talk a little about their philosophy of co-mentorship and maybe some of their other specialties. Because one of the reasons you might choose someone as a co-mentor is because they have interests and specializations that you're drawn to or that you resonate with. There are, I think, 15 or 16 potential co-mentors, and I could put in the chat the website where you can read about all of them. But here we have a great opportunity to actually hear the face and the voice of some of our co-mentors. So let's start off with Ginevra, and tell us what you'd like to say about you and co-mentorship.
Well, I think this isn't exactly about my interests, but I think it's a reason why I might be a good fit for someone as a co-mentor, which is just to share that when I was learning focusing and practicing it, I was having some pretty extreme upheavals, emotional and psychological. I was in therapy, and it really kind of deepened my therapy. And it got pretty wild for a while. And so I feel like I will be a good fit for anyone who's really experiencing focusing, like deeply upheavaling them. I don't think that's a word. So I'm a good fit for people who suspect that that might be happening for them while they're going through this program, and how we can actually leverage that deep upheaval and transformation that comes from it to become even better focusing facilitators and teachers, if that happens to be our path. So I'm also trained as an integral coach, which means integral meaning the whole person. And in my program, we draw on lots of things, including phenomenology and mindfulness and somatics. And I've delved into the Enneagram and the somatic Enneagram in particular quite a bit. So that's another interest area for me. I'm very interested in complex developmental trauma, and I'm also a good fit for people with a background with recovery or addiction kind of issues in their background. Yeah, I think that's enough, is it?
Yummy.
Yes, happy to talk to anyone to see if you feel like we're a good fit.
Yeah, and before we go on to Carol, I just want to say the way to, once you're in the program, and we'll tell you how to get in the program a little bit later, you'd usually schedule a little chat with anybody you're considering to be a co-mentor, because the two of you need to agree. So you choose your co-mentor, but they also choose you. Those are free chats. So Carol, tell us about you and co-mentorship. Oh, you need to unmute yourself.
Well, let's see, I'm a psychotherapist, so that might be a match for somebody who is a psychotherapist. I've been in private practice for 28 years. I've worked with not all populations, but a whole bunch of populations,
Yeah.
including developmentally delayed, residents, adolescents in residential care. I've done a lot of child and family work, child adolescent family work, a lot of trauma. And lately, people are coming with retirement. I just retired and I'm really anxious, and is this normal? So I don't think that'll be a specialty, but it's a new thing that's showing up. I've done a lot of supervision of other clinicians, and I think people that have worked with me would say that I'm very accessible. I'm much more collegial than I am like, I know everything and you don't know anything. I'm not really like that. We all learn from each other. And when you said something about how you'll be an entrepreneur, and that people aren't likely to hire you for salary, and I agree. However, I did have the experience of a former boss of mine who runs an adolescent residential center with lots of traumatized children, call me up and say, we had this horrible incident. Can you come and do a debriefing with the staff? And I'm like, that's like a whole thing, like people train for that. And she said, Carol, you're the only therapist that I trust. Parentheses, she didn't have the best time running a program, supervising therapists. So I showed up because I knew inner relationship focusing, and I knew how to sit with people and help them through really intense emotional experiences. And maybe a week later, they called me up and said, could you come twice a month and do this with us?
Oh, so you got a paid gig out of it, huh?
So I got a paid gig.
Okay, great.
And it was awesome. So you just never know what you're gonna get with focusing and teaching focusing.
Thank you, Carol. That is so great. Paula, will you be next?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, Carol. I spent quite a bit of my career debriefing people coming home
Mm.
from overseas.
Wow.
And it's such a tender, fragile place where specifically their view of themselves was messed up, their view of their faith was messed up, their view of God was messed up. And something in me really loved being with people in that place. So I like to say I've spent 35 years companioning weary, disoriented, and burned out souls. And it's been my passion to come alongside. Most of these have been in nonprofit, faith-based scenarios. But now in the spiritual director world, which is also often interfaith, many faiths, there's just such a need for people to integrate this into that important part of their lives. And so I feel like what I'm like Carol, I'm a co-learner with you. I learn as much from the people I'm meeting with. I really love to help you over here, as we do in focusing, as I do as a spiritual director and a supervisor of directors, help you over here where you're at and listen to the more that's within you, the you that's in you, but sometimes the more that's in you, the whole aspect of sometimes we get deeper to discover the divine in tangible ways, in fresh ways. I especially am excited about people experiencing the divine in fresh ways, which I believe happens through the focusing process. So my business is called My Soul Refresh, and my teaching is Doorways to the Soul. You might hear a word that's a theme there. I really am passionate about people and their souls, and their bodies and their minds and their emotions as well, but particularly how to come home to yourself. And that's what I love doing.
So great. Thank you, Paula. Pat.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, about mentoring. So I'm probably one of the few people here that's not a therapist, counselor, ... I'm a medical anthropologist. I was trained in community mental health from UC San Francisco, UC Berkeley, and have spent the last 3 or more, 4
The years do pass, Pat.
some decades
Yes.
in the area of really critical global mental health, and worked in Afghanistan. I have worked in war zones, disaster, disease. And it was when I learned focusing that things turned around, and really how to manage all that. I teach psychological first aid with a focusing approach. I teach psychosocial support with a focusing, everything has a focusing approach. Let me just put that in. So if you work with me, I'm not a therapist. I work in community. So I think where I like best is to be rather than a mentor, but a peer. And one of my young colleagues used the word peering.
Peering.
So I think I do peering. And how can we together adapt your passion with focusing into something new and wonderful? And I think that's what I really love to do. That's my passion. And it doesn't matter where it is in the world. I'm doing so many things now online, but it's how to adapt your passion and blend it and bring focusing so that focusing is the logical foundation for everything you do moving forward. as it comes into your daily life as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pat. Emily.
Well, as those of you who are listening with us on the call can hear, there's just an incredible selection of wonderful mentors. I mean, everyone's great, and it's going to be up to you and the whole felt sense that you get of people, what seems to fit for you. I actually, like Pat, I'm not a therapist. I was a professional oboe player for my whole life.
Oh,
And had a lot of trouble with anxiety during that time, not just playing the oboe. And I got into another modality called inner bonding, trying to get relief from that, and ended up getting certified, and then got certified in focusing, and just ended up working with clients. So I've been doing that for a while. It is a second career now, but I definitely didn't start out there. But I wanted to just say that the work that I do is with highly sensitive people, which I'm one of those, and many people who are attracted to focusing are highly sensitive, and people generally find me seeking support to learn more about the trait, just so they can manage their sensitivity better. And I'm also certified in a breath practice. It's very self-regulating, and I do, like I said earlier, I do longer programs that really help people build the inner relationship that we talk about in inner relationship focusing, and then connect to their spiritual intuition. So you can see how, I mean, each of us it's like a daisy that, we're each petals that comes into that same core center in different ways. It's really makes for a wonderful bouquet. And regarding actually working as a mentor, one of the things I really enjoy, since I do a lot of one-on-one work, is the actual, really the nuts and bolts of what happens in exchanges with a client, and how to be more effective, and how to cross, as you learn to be a guide, you move from the kind of the being a companion into the art of how do you be with someone, know when to speak and when not. And so that's just a really fun part. I think everyone here probably would agree that we have these great exchanges with Anne, and do you mind if I just say about the reports, like how those work?
Oh, yes. No,
Because-
actually, let me help you introduce that.
Yeah.
So what do the co-mentors do? One of the things they crucially do is when you start seeing practice clients, Emily will help you understand the format that we'd like you to follow to report or reflect on your practice client sessions to your co-mentors. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic feature of the program that you'll do a total of 50 sessions with. It doesn't have to be 50 different clients. Like Anne said earlier, you can do 6 with any one person, but after each one, you'll write a report to yourself, but to us, to your 2 mentors. It says, what you learned in the session, any questions you have. And with the beauty of technology now, you can have little snippets of transcripts if you want, of parts of the session where you're not sure, how come this happened? It just felt uncomfortable, or what could I do different here? So we have an exchange then where you drop that in an email and to your co-mentor and to Anne, and we answer your questions. So it's a 3-way. So we all learn. It's really fun. Yeah. So I particularly enjoy that part of it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to just build on that and say, and also Pat talking about how we're peers. We really are. We are a learning community. We're not here to know something that you don't know and then teach it to you. We're here to learn with you. And that's our spirit. Whenever you're learning something, we're learning something too. We have some things we know, and we're happy to share them with you, but not impose them on you. And the
Do you want to say about the milestones too?
Yeah, let's talk about the milestones. So with your 2 mentors, now you've got me and somebody else. The 3 of us meet by Zoom before the program starts. And it's a 3-way meeting in which you do focusing on starting the program with the presence of your 2 mentors as companions to that focusing. That's called the milestone session. There's 3 of them, one before the program starts, one halfway through, like in the summer between the 2 years, and one when all your other requirements are finished. It's your graduation session. So the role of the mentors is really to keep, be there for you throughout your program, but specifically the 3 milestone sessions. You'll also have 3 focusing sessions with each mentor throughout the program. And the reflection forums that are about your practice clients. In 3 cases, you'll record a practice client session with the person's permission, and then watch the session with one of your mentors. Either one of you pausing it to comment, to learn from it. In the 2nd year, you'll also be teaching a course yourself. You'll be finding the people and creating a course and teaching it. A minimum of 2 people. People who thought they would never want to teach, find out they love it. It's just almost reliable. And but you never have to teach again, just that one time. But as you plan that course, the mentors will be there for you as much as you want. In the 2nd year, you also do a focusing project, which means you take some area of focusing or focusing and something else that you're fascinated by and you want to learn more about, and you learn more about it by having interviews, by creating a questionnaire, by doing sessions, by whatever, creating a course, and then you tell us what you learned. So that's part of what the mentors do. Yeah, it's very cool. All right. Well, a very cool thing that's going on today is that we have with us some people who recently completed the 2-year training. They're the folks that started 2 years ago and are just finishing now. And they volunteered to come on here and tell you some of their experience. What did they expect? What happened actually? And where are they ending up now? So who wants to be first? Ellen. Here's Ellen.
So, hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here.
Tell us a little about
And-
yourself, where you're
Sure.
zooming in from.
I'm in the Chicago area where focusing kind of started, right, Anne? And in just north of Chicago. And I was a recruiter and a human resource professional for 20 years, but found focusing through an NVC, a nonviolent communication class that was nonviolent communication and focusing. What's this focus thing? I have no idea. But then the first partnership, I just knew I needed and wanted more of that in my life. That was 2014. So just so happy to be here and to share my experience with this program. I have kind of a unique perspective. I'll go with that in a minute, but what I was hoping in the program was to gain from the program, and we've heard this time and time again from everyone, is confidence. I really wanted to feel confident about calling myself a focusing professional, a facilitator, a trainer, and bringing that confidently into my practice as a career transitions coach and resume writer. So that was my main goal. And then also to really live a focusing life, to really feel that I was practicing what I was sharing, what I was doing. So that was my other primary goal. And my unique perspective is that I did another 2-year training certification, and it was a good program, and it
Another
worked.
2 years focusing certification.
So sort of focusing certification training program. And at the end of it, I just didn't feel confident. I didn't feel I was prepared. I was scared. I didn't feel I was ready. And I felt that I knew I needed to live a focusing life too, as well, to really feel genuine and authentic about bringing this to whatever work I was going to do. So what I got out of the program was just an incredible experience of the support, the experience I gained from, it's not just a long seminar, it's actually doing the work. There's a book that's for salespeople. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar. And it's the same kind of concept that we learned by experience, and that, and at the same time, we really, I was bringing it into my life, into my family, into my relationships with friends and my work. And I just gained the ability to pause before reacting, or not all the time, but, but improve family relationships, better communication, and more empathy with myself and with others. And I was doing other courses along the way. Anne's wonderful course on boundaries and her book was incredibly helpful. And so I really feel at the end of this, even though I still have a few requirements left, I feel so much more confident. It feels that I can really say I'm a focusing professional and bring that into my work. There's so many benefits from the program. I think just the friendships I've made, and the teachers I work with, Emily, one-on-one, it's been as well. And it's a new way of learning. It's a focusing oriented way of learning that I've never experienced before. It's hard to explain because it's so empathic. I'm so supportive. I had trouble getting my reports in because I realized I had such a fear of criticism, even though I know it wasn't, the reports weren't going to be criticized. It was more of a shared observation. And so just learning how to see that and how that was keeping me stuck. I feel like I have a new way of learning and teaching in a focusing oriented way. And I'm bringing this into my practice as a career transitions coach right now. But in this whole process, it's just opened up what I might be able to do as a focusing professional. My passion is empathy, self-empathy, empathy for others. And it's the skill that I really needed what I really needed in my life, and what focusing has really brought to me. And I've worked in HR for healthcare professionals. I was a caregiver for my mom. And my passion is really trying to bring focusing skills and empathy, abilities to not react with anger, to pause, bring that to healthcare professionals. So I'm trying to develop a workshop for nurses, aides, and nurses. And that could also be parents, other types of caregivers. And then, so that's what I'm hoping to bring. And I'm just really grateful for the experience and all the wonderful people I've met and the friendships from our cohort. It's really incredible. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Ellen. It's wonderful that you could come and share that with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really important.
If anyone has any questions, you can reach out to me too.
Yeah, well, we'll have a question period soon. These folks will stay around for the question period. So we have Lizzie, who's just arrived, and Lauren. Lauren will be next. Go ahead, Lauren.
I'll put my hand down. Okay. Yes. I signing up for this training, it was like something I couldn't not do after completing Path to Lasting Change 1 and 2. It was like a Cookie Monster feel of like, just, I need more of this. I need more of this. And it wasn't coming from a part, but kind of this, this is so life enhancing, so life enriching, just like a plant soaking up water through the roots. I really needed more of this, especially since I have lived most of my life in a chronic state of overwhelm. This process gave me a different way of being that it was like I was vitamin deficient, and then I found something so nourishing and nurturing. And then I'm also a somatic experiencing practitioner, which is a body-oriented approach to healing trauma, even though I'm not a therapist. But I would bring language, what I was learning in Path to Lasting Change, into my one-on-one sessions with clients. And it was just like clunk, clunk, flop, flop, what worked for me wasn't translating to what I was trying to offer clients. And I felt like I was somehow disrupting their process rather than supporting it. So I knew I needed to back off and stop and really immerse myself in this work so that I could more skillfully translate what I had been learning to client sessions. And so what I got from the training was so much, but I'll just speak to where I left off, was the support from Anne and my co-mentor in these client sessions where, there is such an atmosphere of support and learning together, where this was and I used to be an educator, that was one of my careers. And it was remarkable to have this be the first experience I've ever had of, oh, this is what it's like to learn and not be judged and criticized and graded. And in that case, I felt more free to be like, and I flopped here. Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Or Peter Gill, my co-mentor, like, oh, this was so unexpected. And so, of course, then the learning went deeper and the learning was richer, because I knew I wasn't going to be shamed or kicked out or, criticized. And so one of the highlights or benefits I've received, in addition to all I've already named, is that I am so much more on my side. I went from highly debilitatingly self-critical, you might even say self-loathing, to, okay, I could do this, that bigger me being with all my parts and more on my side. And I stopped pleasing and appeasing people with that. Even though I understood the reasons for that behavior and that pattern, I seemed to never get free from it. Even if something didn't fit or feel right, I would respond with like, sure, yep. And I would just continuously override my inner knowing for the sake of wanting to be nice, to keep connections. And I just literally can't do that anymore. Like it's quite remarkable. There's that body knowing that comes forth, where I just know enough to like pause or even walk back if that reflexive yes did come out. And so, yeah, I am just looking that I've become more comfortable voicing what I call my knowing no. And there was a difference between kind of knowing no was there, and then verbalizing it and giving voice. And that has been a radical shift in the direction of growth and living more fully. And how I completed my certification a month or so ago, and my certification project was combining interrelationship focusing with somatic experiencing to help heal developmental trauma. And so the name of the course is Coming Back to You. And it just feels like, oh, this is my life's work. And I'm so glad this was a requirement, some kind of a certification project to like get me to write it out and do it. I don't know if I would have if I hadn't had that opportunity. And so, yeah, I'm excited to teach that course later on this fall. And I'm also continuing to teach my own version of Path to Lasting Change called Small Steps, Big Shifts. And
Great name.
yeah. That's...
Deborah, I have a quick question. Deborah, sorry. Lauren, I have a quick question for you. You actually hadn't completed Path to Lasting Change Part 2 when you started certification. What was that like? Did that work out okay?
That I was so glad that yes, it worked out completely fine. And I had no difficulties, and I was glad to not have to wait another year to sign up. So that was fine.
It worked out just fine. Great, because I think we've got some people who want to do that. Thank you very much, Lauren. Lovely to hear from you. Looks like Deborah wants to be next. That's why I have Deborah on the mind. Okay, unmute.
Yes,
Oh,
you'd think I would know how to unmute by now.
I think you do.
All right, hello everybody. When I think about all the ways to answer, I'll try to keep it as concise as possible because there's so much, as with I'm sure everyone that shared, but I was taught focusing many years ago. I can't remember if it was 15, maybe 20. By a teacher who studied with Anne back then when she had treasure maps, and that might have even been new, I'm not sure, but she was also a therapist and then became a dear friend later in life. And when she taught me this, I back then there was a seed that was planted, and I wanted to do this work so deeply and so badly, but I didn't ever speak it or talk about it. I didn't think it was possible for different reasons, but I kept practicing, and it was life-changing for me. I struggled with anxiety and panic attacks, and I had tried all different sorts of therapy and things that were helpful, but this was truly transformational. I became really a different person. So I knew I wanted to do it. Life went on, and I decided during COVID that I would start. This would be my time. I would call Anne. At the time, I currently also own a company with my husband, and we do endurance coaching, triathlon. We also produce events. So we did nothing during COVID. So I thought this is going to be the time. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And it's the best decision I made. Because I'll start with what I wanted was just to get certified. I knew this was there. I just want to get certified. That's what I want to do. I really didn't have an idea of what all that meant until I started going through the program. And what I actually got was, wow. I mean, it's really hard to put concisely. And I think it's kind of what we've all shared. It's not just that I learned how to be a focusing professional. I learned about Deborah. I learned so much about myself. I feel like the certification allowed me to grow and expand in ways that I longed for, but didn't expect to have happen. And so that has allowed me growing and expanding has allowed me to become this person and practice this in this way that I really have always wanted. And there's lots of benefits I've received.
And we're watching our time, so
yep.
I don't want to...
benefits. Just the encouragement. I think the biggest thing for me was that it was being true it was so encouraged to be true and unique to my process and my uniqueness as a person and as a focuser, and not to be like anybody else. And that was just the way, exactly what Anne said about learning and learning together. And it was really incredible. And I'm doing practice clients and teaching, and I love it. And I was one of those people that thought I would never want to teach, and I love it.
Something I want you to say a bit more about. I think some people wonder, does this program make sense for someone who's not already in a counseling profession or a therapy profession? You're an athletic coach.
Right. I find that it is so helpful with that, because for years, training endurance athletes, especially triathletes and people doing long events like that, my husband and I have always said, oh my gosh, this is one of those, like, we're people's therapists instead of their coaches, because so much gets brought up, so much emotional stuff, but it just helps you know how to be a human with another person as well. And it has just made those relationships with clients even deeper. And so I feel like I can do that, and I can be a focusing professional, or meld them together.
Wow.
Works just great.
So great. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really
thanks for letting me share.
Really appreciate it. We've got a great variety of people here. Lizzie, go right ahead and say something.
Oh yeah, hi everyone. Lovely to be here. It's so interesting to hear everyone, like Deborah and Lauren. I have so much gratitude for these 2 years. It's just been personally transforming, and I've seen it in all of our cohort as well, just deep changes in everyone. I was one of those people that I wasn't a healing professional, and some people in our cohort were, and a lot of us weren't. And I was always doing a lot of inner work. I was always the student, and I knew that it would be transforming 2 years, but I thought it might even take longer to be able to step into that, like that deep inner knowing that I am now more in the teacher role than I definitely was 2 years ago. And it's been beautiful little steps along the way. So it's such a well thought out program in terms of we're supported and we're given step by step how to grow into this, as well as doing my own focusing work around things that come, particularly when I started teaching my level 1, which I absolutely love as well, but I had a lot of stuff coming up again, and I had a lot of people that I can focus on with it as well. So just so much gratitude. And I just feel that I feel that I'm a different person, and I know a lot of our cohort do. I will keep it short. The biggest thing that has surprised me, I guess the benefits in a nutshell for me were the level of training in how to share focusing, but the depth of focusing in my understanding now. So when I joined, I didn't realize there was just so much more depth to the understanding of focusing. And I think all of us have gone, oh, I don't think I really understood focusing. And that's just been amazing, just the deepening within myself, as well as my own personal transformation. But the biggest surprise for me is now that we're finishing, I'm not out on my own, stepping into the world. I have this network from our cohort, which was 17 people. And so I'm in Australia. There were 2 other Australians, and we've assisted each other in our level 1s, and we're continuing. We're going into the world having different offerings. But I have this support network who are all doing the same thing, and we get to run ideas by each other. And I think in the past, I've always done something on my own. I've always thought I have to do things on my own. And this way I'm doing things with this support network under me. So that's been amazing. And what I'm doing in the future is I'm really drawn to sharing, teaching the levels in community, and particularly 12-step community. that's where I'm at the moment. It may change, but that's where I'm at the moment. And if anyone on the call is in 12-step, I'd like to hear from other people who are also interested in that. And I'm happy for Anne to share my details. That's about me.
Wow, so exciting. I'm really glad you brought that up, Lizzie. It's something that we haven't emphasized as much, is how the cohort becomes a supportive community for each other. And I'm just lovely that you emphasize that. So we have mentors and we have the whole cohort. So it's not like you have to learn and then go out and do it on your own. There's you create your own work to the extent that you want to. Wow. Well, hello to Lee, who's arrived. Lee's one of the teachers in the program. We want to open it up to people who are here patiently listening. What are your questions? You can raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature and we can hear your voice, or write something in the chat that you have as a question for any particular person here or for all of us. What would help you make a decision about whether you want to take another step? While you're thinking about what questions you might have, let me answer one, which is, well, what do I do now if I want to apply, or if I want to make a connection and have a conversation about whether it would be right for me? So you get to have a chat with me. The next step after this open house is to have a chat with me, 20-minute free chat. And I'm going to put in the chat, different use of the word chat. I'm going to put in the chat the link to the free session. So you can use my online scheduler to schedule this. And let's see here. There you go. So use that link to schedule a 20-minute free chat with me, where I'll get to know you and you can raise your questions more personally, more specifically, and anything we need to know about each other. Following that, I will send you an application. You fill out the application. Once we get your application, we will almost certainly accept you if you've got the prerequisites and you've come this far. After you're accepted, you decide whether to accept us. And although we really don't want to take more than 18 people in any particular cohort, we do accept people ongoingly. So you don't have to wait to know if you're in or not. You'll know right away. So that's how that works. I don't see any hands up yet or any questions in the chat. I want to also answer a question people often have, which is, before I do that, Mel has a question. So Mel, I'm going to give you a voice. And if you unmute yourself, we can hear you.
Hi, Mel here. So I'm curious as to how would I have access to communicate with people that I would like to have a conversation with to see if it's a good fit for the co-mentor. There's several people that really just I feel the kinship with, and so would like to when or how do I reach out to that?
So can you see the chat for this call? For this? Yeah. Do you see that I put a link in there? Focusing resources, focusing co-mentors. So that will take, if you click on that, that takes you to a web page that lists all the co-mentors and their contact information.
Okay, great.
So,
The laptop that I'm on is different than mine at home. So I was, the info is not, so I was like,
okay.
So thank you.
Okay, but if you can access it, if not, when you get to your other laptop, just send me an email and I'll make sure you get it. Yeah, great question. All right, so anything else, Mel? While you've got the microphone?
Not at this moment, thank you.
All right, very good.
Anne,
Yeah.
did you want to I just want to remind people that you, it's after you're accepted, right, to the program that you contact mentors, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Emily. After you are accepted and the next step, and after you're in the program, you're accepted and then you pay, And then the next step is to find your co-mentor.
Yeah.
Because some co-mentors don't take more than 1 or 2 people per year. So the people, they want to be talking to people who've already been, who are already accepted in the program. Oops, there you go. So I was going to answer the question that people often have, which is, how much time does this take? Now, the 2 hours a week that gives you 2 hours. So it's a 2-hour meeting every week. In addition to that, there's reading. And I would say the reading would be 1 to 2 hours a week. Not necessarily every week, but certainly more toward the beginning. There can be a lot of intensive reading. We supply you with 2 textbooks. One is my book, Focusing in Clinical Practice. And the other is a book I wrote that's available by PDF called The Focusing Teacher's Manual. And the readings are generally from those 2, although the articles are also given. So let's say you've got 2 hours in the classroom, maybe 2 hours of reading per week. You also start right away partnering with somebody else in the course. That might take up to 2 hours as you have long sessions with each other and trade them back and forth. So that's another 2 hours. So starting out, it's probably 6 hours a week. After that, you've finished partnering with the other people in the course, right around that same time, you'll start seeing practice clients. So it's still going to be about 6 hours a week. Now, there's some people whose life and work is such that they're more free in the summer than in the academic year. It is possible to wait and do most of your practice clients over the summer. So some of the things you're doing can be, time managed. So it's more in the summer. When you assist us with classes, we would like you to assist us. It's part of the program to assist with Path to Lasting Change Part 1 twice. And those are 9-week courses, and Path to Lasting Change Part 2 once. So those are 3 9-week courses. So for 27 weeks over the whole program, you would be doing another about 3 hours a week. No, about 4 hours a week. Because if you're assisting with a class, it's a 2-hour class, you stay after to have an assistant meeting. You also probably during the week are exchanging a session with somebody in the class. So it's 6 hours a week unless you're assisting, in which case it's 10 hours a week. So that's the time commitment that it takes. Those classes that you'd assist with are 2 different times. If only one of those times is good for you, that's okay. They'll either be on Tuesday afternoons or Wednesday mornings. And what else am I missing?
That treasure maps, if people have already done treasure maps,
Oh, yes.
that counts.
So the thing that Emily is saying is the course we used to call treasure maps is now called untangling. And it's also a required part of your certification to take an untangling course. And there's 2 ways to do that. One is through a year-long program that starts every April called Getting Free, A Year of Untangling. And the other is through a retreat. We do that retreat online, but we'd much rather do it in person. We're doing it in Colorado in September. 6-day retreat, very beautiful, immersive, intense experience. It doesn't matter whether you take it before you start the program, during the program, but if you finish the program and you haven't taken it, well, you better take it before you can actually get certified. So yeah, who wants to add something? Did we miss anything?
There's your demonstrations of facilitating focusing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Oh,
That's
there's so much. Well, so I teach a course that's open to anyone called Demonstrations of Facilitating Focusing. I teach it 3 times a year. In that course, I do 3 sessions, 1 a week, with someone who's never done focusing before. So I demonstrate working with someone who's having their very first focusing session. And then that person leaves, and those who are taking the course stay for half an hour and talk about it. Now, if you're in the certification program, you must take that course once, and it's included in the certification program fee. So you must take it once. You may take it as often as you like for the rest of your life. It's a lifetime benefit of the certification program.
How many have I taken? Like
How
20?
many have you taken? Yes. So you just, oh, I see there's another one. Please sign me up. You know, it's like you can take as many as you like. Yeah, it's so cool. Wow.
Super helpful.
Oh,
For
there is another, super helpful. Yeah, there is another hand up. So Mina, would you like to speak? Go right ahead and just unmute yourself. Go ahead. Hi.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My question is it's a 2-year program and something might happen unexpectedly, on the way. So what happens, after, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year, something happens in my personal life and it's difficult for me to continue with the program? Is there, I don't know, how do you help us
Well,
in
we're
this situation?
very nice people, and we'll just handle that on a case-by-case basis, depending on what it is. You know, we had somebody stop halfway through this year, but it wasn't because of something happening in his personal life. He just got so busy and decided he wouldn't keep on with the program. And so in that case, we wished him well, but there wasn't any need for any financial change in what we had arranged. But if people have an unavoidable emergency, we certainly are willing to talk about it and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's understandable that you'd be wondering about that.
Mm.
Great. Well, I think we've done a beautiful job of laying out the program, and thanks so much to my fellow panelists who showed up today. Thanks to all of you who came. This will be on public YouTube. So the people who registered for it and couldn't come today are going to be able to watch it, and other people too. Thank you very, very much. Thank you most of all for being interested and passionate about focusing. See you later.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye for now.